Morning, Richard.
Good morning, Simon.
Nice to see you.
And you.
Today I think we're going to talk a little bit about daily maintenance of suits. The kind of little things that you do to a suit to make it look sharper,
Yes.
cleaner, keep that looking every day. We're going to look at brushing suits in a moment, which is obviously very important.
Indeed.
But what are the kind of absolute basics that people should do every day when they take off a suit at the end of the day?
I mean, really, a good hanger is important, for the shoulders as well. So
Yeah.
nothing, you don't want anything too bulky in the shoulder. So something that's very nice and natural. The jacket's going to sit on there, and also a good bar, which is going to let the trousers hang over there, crease to crease, which is going to let it, sit in the wardrobe quite nicely.
Okay.
And recover.
Yeah, absolutely. Get those kind of wrinkles just to kind of hang out of the jacket.
That's it.
And I suppose it's crucial to make sure there's enough room in the wardrobe as well, to not pressed up against each other, creating more wrinkles.
You don't want them too squeezed together. Ideally, sort of half an inch, 3/4 of an inch between each garment.
Yeah.
Would be the ideal indeed.
Okay. And then apart from the brushing that we'll look at in a second, what are the sort of other things that people can use to keep their suits kind of clean? For example, if you're doing a kind of a press or steaming, does that help with keeping it clean as well?
It can do, yes, as long as if you find a stain or something like that on the garment as well, if you spot it with a little bit of clean water,
yeah,
that really helps it before you actually press it. So that's a good tip as well.
Okay.
If you have a little bit of something you've picked up during the day, a little mark on the sleeve of the trousers, just a little bit of clean water.
Yeah.
Let it dry. Brush it after 5 minutes, and invariably that would see to it.
Okay. Are we just talking? You would just use something like that just to dab on a little bit onto the surface?
What we call a doily, nice clean, just a little bit of water.
Yeah.
And just dab it on there, let it dry naturally, see how it goes, and just give it a very light brush.
Right. Okay. And if that doesn't work, then you maybe look at dry cleaning or something more.
Exactly. Then you take it on to another step.
Yeah. And I'm aware that generally people often dry clean their suits too much,
yes,
particularly, and there's obviously problems with dry cleaning, and often they aren't very good at hand pressing them afterwards or various things. But would you still dry clean a suit occasionally, every year or so?
I would do it, as and when really, Simon. But I would dry clean my suit probably once a year.
Okay.
If they needed it, obviously more than that.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. What you have to be aware of is the chemicals that that some of the dry cleaners can use.
Yeah.
And also the Hoffman presses. I mean, obviously we make our shoulders and sleeves. We put them in by hand.
Yeah.
So the Hoffman presses that come down and bang those shoulders and
completely
sleeves can do
completely
real big damage to our work. So,
right.
So that's what you've got to do. That's really what you've got to be alive to, really. So we wouldn't advocate that you dry clean them every time you wear them at all.
No. Okay. Fine. Okay. Great. Right. Well, I think we're now going to move on to the brushing of the suit.
Yes.
Right. So let's go and look at that being done, and we'll
Sure.
kind of talk through the process.
Sure.
Okay. So we're watching Brian now pressing a jacket. Let's start with. How often would you do this? Is it worth every time you wear a suit, kind of brushing it down?
I'd look at it, Simon, but I wouldn't necessarily do it all the time, actually. Some suits will need a little bit more. I mean, Brian's concentrating on a navy blue there, and this particular fabric, I must admit, attracts the lint, what we call lint, little bits of fluff that you'll pick up during the working day. So I'd have a look at blues more than greys,
right.
with a view to brush those down. But
okay, so just look at the cloth and see whether you think it looks. Basically, whether you can see some surface dust on it.
That's
basically,
it.
right?
That's it, really.
Right, and that kind of surface dust. This is important, I think, isn't it? Because that surface dust is a lot of the actual dirt that gets on a suit, and if you can just get that off fairly regularly, then it doesn't need actually proper cleaning as much.
No, it doesn't build up, and Brian's doing a good job of brushing away there.
Okay. And what the brush, does it have to be anything particular? You're a horsehair or anything specific?
No, just be mindful of the fabric. I mean, we've got a couple of different sort of types of brush here. The cloth we've got there is quite a hard worsted, lightweight one, but even so it's quite hard, so Brian can use a fairly robust brush on that one.
Right.
Cashmere's, doeskin, stuff like that, just be mindful of a bit of a softer brush.
Fine.
What you don't want to do is take the pile off the fabric.
Right, okay, I can see that, yeah, right. And so he's brushing the trousers first now, he's brushing, and in terms of the direction you're brushing, just that one, you can brush it down and
and
both ways.
You can do it down and up.
Yeah. So the worsted doesn't really make much difference which direction you're doing it.
Doesn't really matter. No.
But you're really just trying to take off that surface dust. So again, the important places presumably are the shoulders, the top of the chest.
Always. I mean, everyone's eye always goes to the top third of the coat when you see someone. So it's always going to be the shoulders in this area that's going to need the most. But always look at the front edge as well.
Yeah. And it's just sort of nice, light, long strokes. And you're just trying to push that off the surface, really. You're not trying to do anything particularly rigorous or deep.
No, you don't want to be too rigorous with it, Simon, because as I say, some fabrics have got a nap on them, and what you don't want to do is damage the top of the fabric, which you could quite easily do if one went a bit too vigorous at it.
And I suppose you should normally be able to see the kind of effect, right, of brushing it as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah, very much so.
You're only doing it because you can see something there, it looks quite
Sure.
dusty, and then you give it a brush down.
Sure. Very self-explanatory.
Yeah, okay. And as we've done the jacket and trousers, and also do the waistcoat as well. I mean, the waistcoat obviously is going to be fairly straightforward. Just give that a quick brush down.
Just look at the front edge, see if any lint's been attracted during the working day. The lining at the back should be fine.
Okay, so here Brian is pulling off, I suppose, extra lint that's not necessarily come up with brushing.
It is. We've picked this one out, Simon, because this is a velvet cord coat, a corduroy coat. Now this does attract, this nature of this fabric does attract more lint than most, actually. So as well as brushing, Simon, what we would use is some sellotape. You can see Brian there, and he's literally attacking the areas where there's most lint and peeling off with the sellotape, which is a very good way of doing it, and it's more productive, I think, than those little roller balls.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, you think the sellotape is more effective?
The sellotape is more effective, and Brian will use a little piece of sellotape, 5 or 6 inches in length, and then he'll discard that after a couple of goes, and because what you don't want to do is take the lint off, but then if you keep on using the same bits of sellotape, put the same bit back on.
Yes, okay.
So you new sellotape every couple of times.
And you can be as fastidious with that as you like, presumably. You can do a lot of it, or just a little bit.
You can,
depending on how much.
But it's a great. You see the results really early, and again, the top of the shoulders and the front edge is very susceptible to that sort of thing.
Okay. And now we're looking at a cashmere overcoat now.
Yeah.
On some materials, I know it's important the direction in which you're going to brush them, isn't it?
Yes.
So something like a cashmere, it's running down the coat that's most important,
Pile
right?
is running down, so you've got to be alive to the pile. Yeah. So on a cashmere, as Brian's doing there, you can brush it either way, honestly, but ideally it's best to brush it down, so all the hairs are going in the one direction.
Right. Okay. And I can see Brian's brushing it in two directions, basically, isn't it? He's brushing it up a little bit, and then the other way as well. So as long as you finish in the right direction.
That's it. That's exactly right. So you finish it the right direction. But by brushing up, you can see the luster Brian's got there, can't you? You can see it against the pile, and then as he comes down and finishes off.
Fantastic. Okay. And I suppose, well, if you have a bit of a pile there, doing it in both directions means you're going to get out more of that dust as well.
Yeah.
Because you're really kind of shaping it both ways.
Exactly. As long as you finish on the downward stroke on a cashmere, and most fabrics actually, apart from velvet or velvet cord where it's on the up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the velvet cord jacket that we looked at before, that's where you want to go up.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's just velvet jackets and pretty much all corduroy these days. Again, you want to be brushing that direction.
That's it. They're the only two.
Fantastic. Okay.